Okay, in this video, we're going over NBA for October 28th. And just in case you don't know, yesterday we hit 3 of 3 on the MLB for the World Series, total, spread, and money line, as well as the NFL for Monday Night Football, total, spread, and money line. Well, in the MLB, they call it run line, same thing. But we hit 3 for 3, 3 for 3 on both sports. Get in on the Patreon, link is in the description and in the video. But in this one, we're going to go over the MLB and how these odds have adjusted from the opening to currently, early in the morning now. And of course, the games do not start for another 14, sub 15 hours, basically. But let's get started with the current odds right now. Then we're going to go back to the opening odds. Minus 198 for the 76ers versus Wizards. Wizards are at plus 166. Now, opening, they are at, let me move that over. Okay, yeah, we're going to ignore these opening odds because these are just defaults. They have these as just defaults. I haven't seen that in a while. Okay, so yeah, we're just going to ignore those. Okay, those are default values for that website, but we're going to go over this. 5-point favorites are the 76ers on the road against the Wizards at negative 114 cost, negative 106 cost for the Wizards. Over under the totals are at 237.5, minus 110 even cost. Now let's see where the splits are. Philadelphia is 85% betting, 82% money. 81% betting on the spread. The previous ones were on the money line. This is the spread betting percentage, 81%, 89% money on the spread, going with the 76ers. Over is dominating, over 237.5, minus 110 cost even, 91% of the betting, 92% of the money. So basically these odds are pretty much neck and neck outside of the spread. It's an 8-point difference there. And if you start to see, for example, we're on 82 right now. These odds will more than likely have to increase for the 76ers for them to win this game. By game time, that is. If you see them go over that negative 200, minus 200, and still maintain over 80-ish, 85-ish percent, they are a lock to win this game. Now, where it gets tricky is when you see, let's say, more people bet on the Wizards. Goes up to 24, 25%. A little bit later, as we approach game time. For the Wizards to be a serious threat to win this game, this plus 166 is going to have to turn into more than likely positive as they improve their splits, improve their percentages on the splits, on the money. They would have to go down to about 150, 145. So it would be something like plus 145, minus 170 something, minus 170, 172, maybe 168, and plus 145, something like that. It's going to have to be something like that. But as far as the spread, when you see this minus 114, minus 106, and the road team is the favorite, they're dominating 89% of the money, 81% of the betting. This minus 114 can lower in cost. It can go down to minus 112. It can go down to minus 110. It can also go down to minus 105 when a favorite is on the road, and they can still maintain that spread. Which is why some of the most difficult games are when favorites, not massive favorites, because they're not a massive favorite in this game, but they are a favorite. The most difficult games to decode are the ones where the favorites are on the road, somewhat favorites on the road, and relatively low spread, because the cost can reflect cost on the spread don't really reflect the money line per se as much as it would like a dominant team, a true dominant favorite, but especially on the road. But look out for Philadelphia across the board in this one. Over under 37.5, 91 and 92% of the money. Minus 110 even cost. With that being such a high total, not the highest of the day, because as you can see, the next one is 241.5. Over 237.5 could follow through in this kind of game. But if the under, and it more than likely will, gain to about double its value, 16% on the money, 16%, while the cost has increased or stayed the same, go with that under. So if it's minus 110 or minus 112 or minus 120, go with that under if the percentages increase. And that's what I would go with in that one, only in that case. All right, Charlotte versus Miami. Plus 194 for the Hornets, minus 235 for the Heat at home. Heat are a favorite, 6.5 point favorite, that is, at minus 110 cost. Hornets are a 6.5 point underdog at minus 110 cost. Over under 241.5, minus 110 cost for the over, minus 110 cost for the under. And let's see where the splits are for this game. Very high total in this one. 24% betting, 43% money. 24% betting, 43% money for Charlotte on the money line. For the Miami Heat, 76% on the betting, 57% on the money. On the spread, 6.5 points. 43% on the betting for Charlotte, 43% on the money for Charlotte. 57-57 for the Heat. Over under 241.5, 87% on the betting, 88% on the money. And this is where we stand for this one. Now, 57, 57, 57. 57% money for the Miami Heat, 57% money for the Miami Heat on the spread as well. The over is dominating currently. I'm going to tell you right now, this over is not going to last. It's not going to be in the 80th percentile unless this total decreases. Unless the total decreases, then it's going to be somewhere around maybe 70, 68%. But these are going to change pretty different throughout the day, and that's why I'm informing you of these things. If the Miami Heat go down here, if they decrease to minus 225, minus 215, something like that, they may not go down to minus 200. That might be a stretch. But minus 215, minus 225 in money line value for the bookies. And this 57% either holds up or decreases. If it holds up or decreases, go with Charlotte in this game. If they increase at all, in any respective direction, the Heat are a lock in this game. 57% going with the Heat on the money and the betting on the spread. 6.5 point favorites. Somewhat a little bit higher than even, obviously. Minus 110 cost even. In this kind of game, you want to challenge that, especially with a high total. All of this stuff relates in some way, numerologically. It all relates. And this 6.5, you want to challenge that 57%, because I'm going to tell you now, Charlotte could end up getting it. This could flip by game time. 57% for Charlotte, 43% for Miami on the spread, that is. And that's the case. If that's the case, more than likely it'll even out. More than likely even 50-50. That's probably more realistic. Go with Charlotte on that ML. Go Charlotte on the spread. Charlotte on the spread, that is. But as far as that over, I would join the public and go with that over, only because it is a relatively high over, and it will more than likely decrease as we approach game time. But let's scroll down to the next one. Let's scroll down to the next one. Let me move up. All right. Next game is the Sacramento Kings versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. Plus 390 for the Sacramento Kings, minus 510 for OKC. So OKC has been, no slouch this season. Like, they won the championship last year. And they pretty much held up their end so far this year. They've had a few blunders, but that's just going to happen. It's an 82 game season. 10.5 point favorites are the Thunder. Now, normally try to do that to entice you to go with the underdog on that spread if they're getting a massive amount on the betting and money, which they are not. They're only getting 35% and 39% on the money. 35% betting and 39% money on the spread. 10.5 point underdogs are the Kings. Oklahoma City is getting 92% of the betting and 86% of the money. Now, they are favorites in this game, but they're not huge, massive favorites. Like, they're not minus 700, minus 800, minus 1200, something like that. With that being said, this minus 510 more than likely will hold up, but watch how the odds adjust. If they drop too much, if they go down to 300s or something like that, then definitely go with Sacramento under any cost. Go with Sacramento. As it currently stands, Oklahoma City could get this 510. Watch how that holds up. That is a very nice payday for the sports books, and they will not deny that. 86% of the money, 92% betting. 65% betting on the spread, 61% on the money at that minus 112 cost. The minus 112s hit slightly more than the minus 108s. I mean, it's not a significant difference. It's about 55-45. But so far, where the costs are, I would go with OKC across the board, only where the costs are right now. Over under 227.5, minus 110 cost for the over and the under. And 94% and 95% on the money. 94% betting and 95% money. Over 227.5, minus 110 even costs. With them getting over such a high percentage on that over, and that cost is still at minus 110, a lot of people expecting that to go over. That's a relatively low total for this kind of game. So I would challenge that and fade the public and go with that under, especially since it's even. Especially since it's even minus 110. I would challenge that and go with that under. But let's go to the next one. All right, New York versus Milwaukee. Minus 122. The favorites are the Knicks on the road at Milwaukee. Plus 104 for the Bucks. Minus 1.5 at minus 108 cost. 1.5 point favorites are the Knicks on the road. 1.5 point underdogs are the Bucks at home at minus 112 cost. Over under 228.5, minus 114 going with that over, minus 106 going with that under. Now let's see where the odds are for this one. 55 and 58. So naturally, this is somewhat not a pick'em game, but just above that pick'em game, about 52-53% win percentage for the Knicks. 55% betting here. 58% money on the money line. Now, this minus 122. If you see, I'm going to tell you this now. With the splits being relatively even, if you see Milwaukee go to the negative at all, go with Milwaukee across the board. And they have that favored minus 112 cost on the spreads, which hit more than the minus 108s. I would go with Milwaukee across the board, especially if they go to the negative. However, if you see New York increase to negative, let's say 130, minus 135, something like that, then you would have to consider going with the Knicks only if the splits increase or remain the same. 58% money, 55% betting. Then you would go with the Knicks. They're only getting 38% of the money on the spread, though. And I recommend in a game like this, you go with the one you go with the ML, you go with the one on the spread. Over under 228.5, 84 and 81%, 84% betting, 81% money. I would actually join the public and go with that over in this one. Clippers versus Warriors. Once again, this is only early in the day. I do my analysis on the Patreon. Link is in the description and in the video for the final picks that I post later in the day. This is just what I'm seeing right now based off what I know. Minus 116 for the Clippers. Minus 102 for the Warriors. Clippers are a 51% win percentage. Maybe 52. I think it's 51 though. 51-49, 52-48, somewhere there. 1 point favorites are the Clippers at minus 112 cost. 1 point underdogs are the Warriors at home minus 108 cost. Over under. Over 224.5 minus 110 cost. under 224.5 at minus 110 cost. Splits 32 and 35. 32% betting going with the Clippers, 35% money going with the Clippers. 68 and 65%. Sorry about that. 68 and 65% going with the Warriors at home at that minus 102. If you see the Warriors go higher in the negative, go with the, once again, it's a lot like the last game. The home team that goes to the higher negative, that began as a dog, go with them on the ML if that is the case, especially in the NBA. Now, over under 224.5. It started at 223.5. Minus 110 cost there. 95 and 94. So everybody expecting that to go over. Minus 110 cost. If the cost goes up for the over with the higher splits, go with that over. If the cost goes down for the over, go with the under. This is one of those games in the pick'em games. It's that simple. Go with the under. If you see whichever one has the higher cost, go with that one in this one, especially with pick'em games. But yeah, that has been NBA. I will see you guys in the next video for Tuesday, October 28th. Join the Patreon. Link is in the description in the video. Pray every day. You guys take care.